We use the term rehabilitation. Let's think about that right now. If you go to the hospital and you break your arm, they put on a plaster. When the plaster comes off, you go to physio so they can rehabilitate it so it works like it once did. What if it didn't work in the first place? What are you actually rehabilitating that to? That's what it was like for me. I had no understanding of what I needed to be. Okay, so let's get started then, shall we? So, as you all know, this is 40 years to this day that I first came into this prison as a 14-year-old child. I put my story to bed for quite a long time when I kind of went through my changes. And when I kind of came back into this work, I dusted off the story, got it out from underneath the bed to be able to use it, to be able to do what it is that I do today. And I've been doing this talk, which is called Seeds of Belief. And it's this talk that I'm going to share with you today. And it will be the last time that I deliver this within a prison, within HMPPS. I'll say that because it is a caveat, because I haven't yet broken America, so I may do a few more over there. Okay. But I call this Seeds of Belief because I believe that we are all seeds of our own belief system, and we can also create and develop new belief systems. And one of the reasons why I came into this work was because I wanted to empower the people that work with some of those that they say are the hardest to reach people within society. I really struggle with that term, hard to reach, because I sometimes think we make it harder for them to reach us. And we do that, and that is because of policy, process, and systems. And I also believe as well that it's not systems that change anybody. It's not the system, it's the individuals that work within it. People change people. And that's what gave me the idea for this keynote today. So this is what I'm going to deliver. So the first thing I want us to talk about is rehabilitation. Do you like that? Look, curtains? Ooh, yeah. Okay. It would be on a better screen if I wasn't in a prison environment, yeah, okay? No reflection there, so I'm not being bad, okay? So rehabilitation, it's the word that we talk about all the time, but let's think about that word, rehabilitation. Rehabilitation will work for some, but not everybody. And this is the reason why. If you go to the hospital because you've broken your arm, okay, you will have a plaster put on it. When the plaster comes off, you will see a physio and they will rehabilitate it so it works like it once did. What if it didn't work in the first place? What are you rehabilitating that to? And there's a huge amount of people within our system that are within that category. We also hear this term a lot. They've come off the rails. Yeah, we've all heard that. They've come off the rails. There's a really, really great barrister in Scotland called Ian Smith. And Ian Smith is doing a lot of disruption within the judicial system, but the whole system in Scotland at the moment. And the reason for this is because he started to get a conscience. And what he realised was within his industry, and we'll call it an industry, people were doing very, very well. They would be getting really good practices, they were getting beautiful homes, and they were going on amazing holidays. But what was happening was the people that they were supporting in courts became retained customers. So what he wanted to see is about how can he change that. And one day he was in court and he was supporting a young lad who was around about 14 or 15 years of age. And the judge looked down and said, this boy has had enough chances and he needs to feel the full force of the law because he's come off the rails. And the judge, and Ian even, looked at this judge and said, I really hear what you're saying, Your Honour. But what if there were no rails? And this made the judge just take a moment to consider. And then what he decided to do was give this another young lad another chance and another opportunity. But then what Ian also then decided to do was look at what else he could do after the court case and what else could be put around this young lad to maybe help him stop becoming somebody else's retained customer. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you what no rails looks like. So you've all probably seen this before. This was me in the year 2000. And at this point in my life, I literally believed my life would be worth no more than a prison cell, a council estate, and a bag of drugs. I also believed I was pretty dumb and I wouldn't be able to have what other people had within their lives. What I know today is I was not born with that belief system. I cultivated that belief system through the environments that I grew up within. And I'm going to share a little bit about what they were like for me. So I was born into what they call a dysfunctional family. I don't believe there's any functional families out there. You're all dysfunctional to a point. But mine was certainly dysfunctional. Do you know what? I love that laughter because that's identification. Yeah, you're proper dysfunctional bunch, you. So mine was certainly dysfunctional. What it looked like for me was that my mum was a care leaver, so she came through children's homes. My mum also had some learning difficulties, and I also had an alcoholic father. And this meant that I wasn't able to have the love, the care and the nurture to develop as a human being. What happened is also within my time is that I had significant events, and the significant events are also what led me to where it was and I am today. I also say as well, you can probably find the first 35 years of my life in a filing cabinet somewhere, because social services were there from the day I was born, and there was always somebody involved. So the first significant event that happened for me was when I was about 2 to 3 years of age. And what happened was my mum got up one day and said she was going to the shop. And what she was actually doing was fleeing my alcoholic father. So what happened then was social services came in and picked up me and my siblings and put us into a foster placement. I don't remember it, but I think, should I? Because I've spoken to other people that have had really, really good caregiving families, and they can remember at a young age being separated by them caregivers and feeling an anxiety. I don't remember that. But then I'll say, but I was quite young. Social services then decided to put us back with me mum. And when they put us back with me mum, this is where the seeds of belief came from. Because my mum would always say things like, Gethin, you're bad. Gethin, you're naughty. Gethin, it's your fault. Also as well, because of my mum's learning difficulties, she wasn't always able to articulate it verbally, so she'd articulate it physically. And she might hit me with her hand, a stick, a slipper, whatever was available. Some people that I've met said, well, actually, I had a heavy hand and I was spoken to like that, but I didn't turn out like you. And I go, it's because of balance. If you get some positive messages alongside the negative, it can balance itself out. But if you just get negative, it has a different impact. I now need to put a caveat in here, especially as well because my family are here, but I always do this too as well. I have a really good, strong relationship with my mum today. Okay, I haven't invited my mum today to this event because my mum does have a learning difficulty, and my mum would not understand the reason for why I am saying and doing what it is that I'm doing. But what my mum does have is a real pride in what I do without understanding the details. But a lot of this talk is also linked to about her as well. Okay, so I just want people to remember that when I share this, but I have to share this for people to understand the context of the story. Okay, so what happened then? Yeah, so this is kind of going on within my home. I've got my brother David. Yeah, me and Dave. Yeah, we're kind of very, very tight. Yeah, and he's like my little bit of an older brother. And then what happened? The next significant event happened when I was 5 years of age. And what happened was my mum got pregnant with another gentleman, and he sadly died in a road traffic accident, which meant that my mum had a nervous breakdown, and they picked us up again and put me and my brother into another foster placement. This one I remember, they had these little baby yellow chickens, and I remember being fascinated by them. I'd never seen a chicken before. You don't get them in Somerstown in Portsmouth, okay? But I remember being fascinated by these chickens. But what I don't remember is wanting, needing, or missing my mum. And that's quite significant for a 5-year-old child. Anyway, social services then decided it was okay to put us back with me mum. So we went back with me mum again. And then when I've gone kind of back with me mum, a little while after, a new gentleman came into the house, and his name was Richard. But he was not a gentleman. He was actually a violent criminal, and he started to become violent towards me, my brother, and also my sister. What this made me and my brother do was move further away from my mum. But at the same time, I go into the second environment, and that's the education system. Let me tell you this. If you're not that happy at home, you're probably not going to be that happy at school. And I wasn't the one at the front of the class throwing my hand up, answering every question. Instead, I was at the back of the class mucking about with my mates. And I started to hear some familiar messages. Gethin, you're bad. Gethin, you're naughty. Gethin, it's your fault. As a child, if you keep on hearing the same little messages through your ears, your mind is going to think, maybe I am bad, maybe I am naughty, maybe it is all my fault. And then you start to act out the behaviour. This is the start of the self-fulfilling prophecy and where beliefs become identity. Okay, so what happens then, right, is because of all of these messages and everything that's going on at home, I'm now spending less time at home, less time in school, more time in the local community, and I'm also now being labelled within my local community as a bad influence, a troublemaker, and people's friends, people's parents are not wanting me to go and play with their kids because I'm getting them into trouble. Okay, because I'm not adhering to any boundaries and I'm running away, I'm getting caught home by police and social services and other people, and they're all saying the same thing: bad, naughty, your fault. Everybody's focused on the behaviour, not asking why. Anyway, a really good thing happened when I was about 8. Richard went to jail. Yay! So that was a really good experience. But sadly, another dynamic happened after that. So my brother was a little bit older and a little bit bigger than me. Most people are, okay? But because he was a little bit bigger and a little bit older than me and he had this anger inside, my brother started to become violent towards my mum. And even though I didn't really like my mum, I didn't like seeing my brother being violent to my mum. And a part of me started to wish he wasn't there. And then one day when I was about 9, I came home from school and my brother was gone. And they put my brother into children's homes. And on that day, I lost the most important person in my life. And on that day, I decided that I too would be better off in children's homes because I just wanted to be back with my brother. So what I did was I continued to act out on my behaviour and doing all of the things that I was doing. And not taking any notice of what anybody said. I had no respect or understanding from anybody at all that had any kind of professional way of being or was an adult, because you had nothing good to say. And then what happened was the justice system got involved, and that was when I was 12 years of age. The first time I was in a court was at 12. And back in them days, you couldn't even sit in the dock. You had to sit in seats in front of it. But I remember having no fear of that room. And I remember asking them to put me into children's homes because I just wanted to be back with my brother. Instead, they gave me a conditional discharge. And I remember walking out of the court and saying to my social worker, I'm going to keep getting in trouble till you put me into care. And that's what happened. And a few months later, I was back in front of the court again, and I got given what was called a full care order. I always think about them words. Care, order. I remember the order, but I don't remember that much of the care. And if you wanted to create a negative belief system about yourself, it was definitely the place to be. I will say as well, though, there were some amazing human beings in there, Stu. Stuart here worked in the care system when I was a kid as well. So there were moments of good, but also there were lots of moments of bad, okay? So what happened as well was when I went into the care system, when I got there, they made a decision that they weren't going to put me back with my brother. I understand the reason why I've worked in children's social care myself. My brother was very settled. I was very unsettled. So in their heads, they thought if they put me with my brother, I could take him the path I'm going. But what they never tried to do was facilitate the relationship. So I didn't see my brother again until we both left children's homes. But they say in life, like attracts like. And then what happened was I met a new friend and a new brother, and his name was Michael Sullivan. And Michael Sullivan was like me. He found himself in a system he truly didn't want to be within, but he had nowhere else to go. I found myself in a system I truly didn't want to be within, but I had nowhere else to go. So what we did was we voted with our feet. At the ages of 12 and 13, we're running away from the children's homes and we're sleeping rough in towns and cities across the south of England. Because we're sleeping rough, we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. We're sniffing glue. We're smoking cannabis. We're drinking alcohol. We're taking amphetamines. We're also as well committing more serious crimes. So we're now breaking into cars. We're now stealing cars. We're breaking into shops. We're breaking into houses. And we start to get some more messages from the staff in the children's homes. You'll end up spending the rest of your life in prison. You'll end up becoming a drug addict. I remember one staff member saying I'd probably be dead before I was 18 years of age. So what happened was me and Mike, we kept on getting separated, but we were like two little magnets. We'd get back together again and carry on our rampage, our crime, or whatever you wanted to call it, chaos, until the justice system got involved again. And on the 23rd of January, 1985, I got sentenced to my first custodial sentence, which was in this prison. And what happened when I came into this prison at that point as well, this was what was called a detention centre. And detention centres, if anybody knows the history of the justice system, were what they called short, sharp shock. We are going to scare you straight. And these places were filled with bullying, violence and intimidation. And this was both from the staff and the other young men. I remember as a 14-year-old child, and I say child because I remember when my son turned 14, I realised at that point just how young I was. But as that 14-year-old child, I felt absolute fear. But I also knew I could not show that fear because I had to find a way to survive in that place. And the gates that you came through today, I remember coming through there in a police car, and I remember parking up just by the reception, getting out of the police car and seeing my first ever prison officer. They look a bit different than they do today. Back in them days, they had peaked caps, they had blue shirts, they had shiny boots, proper Sergeant Major type. Anyway, I got out of this police car, and this officer's gone, "Boy, get here." As with any self-respecting youngster, I just strutted across because I wasn't going to let him see I was scared. And I remember being stood in front of him and he went, "When you're in here, you don't walk, you don't run, you fucking fly." And he threw me into reception. And my feet did not touch the floor for the next 2 hours. And I had fully grown men screaming in my face, telling me I was a waste of space, I'd let down my family, I'd let down my community. None of them knew that I'd just come through children's homes. I remember as well being stripped naked. And I also remember being given a card with a number, M33681. That's all you are in here. You are just a number. And through every interaction with them, you just knew that if you did not comply, violence would be the outcome. And at the end of that 2 hours, I was double timed around to the induction cells. And these buildings are new, but the setup's just the same. And my first cell was just down there. And I remember going into that cell, and I remember lying on that bed and putting my blanket over my head, and I cried into my pillow. And I wanted somebody, just anybody, to come and take me away. And nobody came. And at that point in my life, something inside of me here broke. And something inside of me here said, I am never going to trust another living soul. You right, Paige? Come here, get stuck. Sorry, it gets better. Okay. Don't start, because you get me started. I don't want to smudge my car. So I said I would never trust. Something inside me broke. And what he said, I was never going to trust another living soul. The only person I could depend upon was me, and I was no longer going to play your game. And then I went on what I can only describe as a 20-year self-destruct. And I'll give you a bit of a chronology of events, because we love a chronology in the justice system, don't we? Of what that kind of looked like without going into detail. So that chronology of events was simply like this. So when I got out of the prison, rather than have all you wonderful people that are here with me today, I was met by a social worker in a car, and this social worker took me off to another children's home, which was called Glen House. And Glen House, which is now Swanwick Lodge, in my day, it had open units, secure units, and education on site. I was in secure units at 14, secure units at 15. I got my second custodial sentence at the age of 15. And I called that the full stop of my childhood. I ended up spending a total of 8 years of my life behind a prison wall. I became an intravenous dependent heroin user. I spent time on the streets and in homeless hostels, and I destroyed any relationship that came my way. It wasn't that people didn't want to love or care for me. I was incapable of maintaining any kind of human relationship. I always say I was a little bit like a hedgehog. They look really cute. If you pick them up, they're going to hurt you. Because I had this unconscious self-protection mechanism that just said, I'm going to push you away before you push me away. And I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. And it was that led me to that point there. But change is possible. Yay! Look at that! Woo! Change is possible. See, I told you it gets better. But then it's about how does that happen? And as I said at the beginning, it's not the system that changes people, it's individuals that work within it. People change people. I deliver a lot of training, which is human-to-human relationships training. I also do human-to-human leadership training because it's all about people. Everything is about people. Okay, we are in the people business, aren't we, Esther? Yeah, it's all about people. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about supporting change. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a few stories of some of the staff in prisons that connected with me and helped me on this journey. And this is what I share usually with a room filled with prison staff, yeah, so they can understand the impact and the benefit that they can maybe have. So I'm going to still share these with you today. So the first one here was Mr. Crosland. And I met Mr. Crosland in Winchester Prison in 1986 when I was 15 years of age. Just going to put that into context. So me and Mike, we was in trouble again, went to court, and then the social services said, there's nothing more we can do for them. So rather than get remanded to the care of the local authority, we got remanded to Winchester Prison. I'm now going to put some more context in there, just so you're a bit of educational awareness. Okay, care leavers, that's me, a care leaver. We make up 1% of the population of the UK, just 1%. We make up over 50% of the youth justice system, 50%, and over 26% of the adult prison estate. So what we do at the moment is we see the vulnerability of the child. We put them into the care system, okay? They then respond negatively in their behaviour because of their trauma. We then punish and criminalise the behaviour and put them into another system. They did it in my day. Sadly, they still do it today. But anyway, I met Mr. Crosland, and back in them days as well, if you wanted your unemployment money so you could get your tobacco, yeah, then you had to do some duty. So one day the door cracked, Mr. Crosland's come and got me and Mike and said we needed to go out and do some yard duty. We'd gone out and done this yard duty, and at the end of the yard duty, in the old doll's house, which is at the back of Winchester, there was a little verge, and you could see through the fence, and back in them days, you could see out towards the South Downs. And what he did, he said, let's just sit here for a little bit, boys. And we sat there just for about 10 minutes, yeah, just looking out. And then he just said this. He said, you know what? You two are all right, you're good kids. You don't deserve to be in a place like this. I didn't go off and change my life, but I remember the experience to this day because he treated me as a human being. I'm now going to fast forward a couple of years to 1990, and I'm kind of going a little bit straight, or should I call it curved? Okay, Adele's mum was pregnant with Adele, yeah, okay, right, so I was going a bit curved. Mike went into prison on his own. It was the first time going to prison on his own. On the 14th of February 1990, on Valentine's Day, Mike never got a Valentine's card. And on that day, he made a decision to take his life in Winchester Prison when he was just 19 years of age. I thought many times of why did he do that? And what I believe happened was when he got that card, he felt loss, abandonment, and rejection. When he looked back at his life, he saw loss, abandonment, and rejection. And when he looked forward in his life, he saw more loss, abandonment, and rejection. And I believe that's why he took his life on that day. But what happened was a few months later, because going straight didn't work too well, so I ended up back in Winchester Prison. And when I got there, Mr. Crosland's gone, all right, Gethin, called me by my first name. He'd known me a little while. He's gone, Gethin, he goes, I've seen a lot of deaths in custody, and Mike's really impacted me because he really didn't deserve to be in a place like this. He said, if there's anything that I can do to help or support you, please just let me know. I'm happy to have a chat. I never took him up on his offer, but I remember the offer because he showed kindness to me and he showed compassion to my best friend. This here is Mr. Butcher, or as we called him, Mr. B. Yeah? And Mr. B, yeah, same thing. I met Mr. B in 1986 when I was 15. I'm now going to fast forward all the way to 2005. Yeah? And I'm back in Winchester Prison again. And I'm on B wing by the pool table. And Mr. B comes up and he's gone, all right, Geff. He called me Geff. He's known me that long. He's gone, all right, Geff. I went, all right, Mr. B. He went, you back again? I went, wow, you know how it is. You know what it's like. And then he's gone, ain't you had enough of this yet, Geff? He goes, I've watched you go from being a boy to a man. He said, if you don't make some changes, you're going to go from being the youngest person in this prison to the oldest. And then he just walked off. I'm like, thanks for that, mate. In the prisons, they talk about a 5-minute intervention. I call that a 15-second intervention. I already had these ideas in my head that things weren't kind of quite right. But then I remember looking down the landing and there was what was called an old swooper, yeah? And swoopers were people that used to pick up butts off the floor. There was this older gentleman there, yeah? And he was probably in his late 60s, looked more about 90. He had no prison, he had no contact with anybody outside of the prison. Yeah, so I just looked at him and just thought, if I don't make some changes, that's going to be me. Yeah, just go to the end there, Chris. Go to the end. Chris, thank you for coming, my friend. I'll be in touch soon, yeah? Okay. Give everybody a round of applause. Chris is on his way out. Thank you, Chris. Loves that man, I do. Okay. So, yeah, so Mr. B, yeah, Mr. B, yes, that's a 5-minute intervention, 15-second intervention. I'm now going to go on to this gentleman here, and his name is Jim Nuttall, Mr. Nuttall, yeah? And he was a maths teacher in Winchester Prison. And I remember when you go into the jail, they used to do this induction test, yeah, right, which was about to test your maths and your English, okay? And what happened was when he did the induction test, a lady called Janet came and she said, look, we've had a little look at your schools, and we think with a little bit of help, you could get yourself a maths qualification. And I went, not me, miss, I'm thick. I got expelled from school at the age of 12. I ain't going to be able to do that. She went, no, I think you'll be able to do it. So I'd like to say that I got my pen and my pencil and I ran up to the education department to get this qualification. But instead I thought, well, a couple of hours out of cell, wasn't it? Yeah. And I remember I went into the classroom and I assumed my normal back position at the back because there were some mates there and we just started chatting and doing the stuff we do at the back. Anyway, a couple of days in, Jim's gone to this fella at the front. He's gone, excuse me. He said, could you do me a favour? He said, could you write a little bit lighter with your pencil? Because the sound of the lead on the paper is disturbing Gethin's conversation at the back of the class. I did that, I laughed, and I thought, you know what, this fella's all right. So I started chatting with him, and he went, so why aren't you doing the maths? I went, it don't really work for me, it's not really my thing. He's gone, look, he goes, I've written this book, it might help you. It explains maths in a different kind of way. I went, all right, then, let's have a look. And it had Jim Nuttall, and then it had letters after his name. M-I-F-A. And I remember going, M-I-F-A. I said, what does that mean then, Jim? He went, member of the Institute of Fuck All. I laughed again. I thought, yeah, I'm going to have letters after my name now. So he engaged me a bit further, yeah. So anyway, about 6-7 weeks later, I sat down with him, yeah, because he'd given me all of this knowledge. I'd done my first ever level 1 maths qualification, and I passed with an 80% pass. And on that day, they planted a new seed that said maybe, just maybe, I'm not as thick as I first thought. The last one I want to put on here is Stuart Degville. So Stuart Degville, was that my 30-minute, was it? Yeah. Okay. So Stuart Degville, okay, was my personal officer. They call him key workers today. Okay, so what it was Stuart Degville was my personal officer, and for me, I had a little bit of a separation from prison officers, yeah? So I would take whatever it is I needed from them, but I'm not going to let them get too close because I don't trust them. Yeah, okay, and that comes back from my thoughts and feelings in relation to the ones that I met all them years ago when I was in Sens. So I just had this standoffish opinion with these officers. But anyway, Stuart, he started to engage me through football because I don't know if you know, but I support the best football team in the world, that is Portsmouth Football Club. Blue Army! 3-1 last night. I was there, wasn't we, Bruce? Alan, whee! So anyway, so Stuart, he supported Swindon. I didn't even know they had a football team, let alone any fans. So we'd have a bit of banter about the football. And then one day he's come up to me, he's gone, so you play at Fratton Park, don't you, Geff? I went, yeah, that's the church. That's where we worship the team. And he went, do you know what Fratton Park spells backwards? I went, no, what? He went, crap, not half. Nothing you can say, that's what it spells. Yeah. So the same thing, I thought, you know what, this fella's all right. So anyway, so he started to get to know me a little bit. And then one day he's gone to me, he goes, so have you got any family then, Geff? And I went, yeah. I said, I've got my partner, Michelle. I've got my daughter, Adele, my son, Jordan. Do they come up? I said, not regularly, because it's a long way to come from Portsmouth to Wiltshire. I said, but they are coming up next week. Anyway, the following week, he come up to me and go, how was your visit? How was your partner? How was your daughter? Yeah, he took kind of notice in who I was as a person. And then another day he came up to me. He's gone to me, he's gone, Geff. He goes, can I ask you a question? I went, yeah, go on, what? He said, how old was you the first time you went to jail? And I went, 14. And he went, 14? What was going on in your life that meant you went to jail at 14? Nobody had ever asked me that question. And I was like, oh, I was in children's homes. He went, children's homes? He went, I can't imagine what that must be like. He said, I had a family my whole life. I can't imagine what it must have been like to grow up without a family around you. And what he did there was he showed empathy, compassion, without breaching any professional boundaries. And what he did was it kind of helped me connect a little bit further to him. So what happened was one day he came in and he could see I wasn't my normal self. And he went, Gethin, you okay? And I went, no, I can't get hold of my partner. So if you come from a place, and he knew I was come from this place because of the conversations where there's loss, abandonment and rejection, if you can't get hold of your partner, your whole world is imploding and you're thinking you'll never see them again. So what he did was he said, look, I'll let you use the phone because I had no units. I didn't really used to get a lot of money in jail. I suffered from what they call a prison poverty, yeah? I didn't really have all of the stuff that you see, all of these people that they show on TV. That wasn't me. So what happened was I kind of went in to use the phone. Nothing unique here, though. I'll tell you why, because I blagged a few phone calls in my time, trust me, yeah, okay. But he gave me this phone call, and I wasn't able to get hold of Michelle. And then what he said to me was this. He said, listen, he said, I'm not on duty tomorrow. But what I'll do is I'll get another staff member to unlock you so you can use the phone. And in my head, I went, yeah, you will, won't you? You're going to do that on your day off. It ain't never happening. Anyway, the next day, there was steps down the landing. Another officer called Mr. Marshall opened my door and said, Stuart said you might want to be able to use the phone. I remember going in and using the phone and then hearing my partner's voice. And on that day, he planted a new seed, a significant seed that said maybe, just maybe, you could trust in what somebody says. So when I ever talk to prison officers, but not just prison officers, anybody at all that works with anybody that is struggling in life, I'm always saying your job is to crack a wall and plant the seeds. Crack walls and plant seeds. Because we are all one person's belief away from success. But we are the ones that have to plant them seeds. And when people have come from very, very dysfunctional backgrounds with very, very strong beliefs and identities, it takes a lot of cracking. Okay? But that's what we kind of do. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of share a little bit about what cracking walls and planting seeds is like, yeah? So this is me in a room of bamboo, yeah? So I always link to the story of bamboo, yeah? Because this is then about collectively as a whole of how we support change. How, okay? So like I say, the first bit is that we plant the seed. Yeah, the seed gets planted. If we think about bamboo, and the reason why I use bamboo is because it's very much linked to my own journey. But if you think about bamboo, when you plant bamboo, it can take 5 years before you see anything. 5 years, okay? But what happens during that 5 years is it needs interventions. Interventions. Sunlight, nutrition, water, everything, yes? You're getting these constant interventions. And then underneath, you've got germination. You've got germination, you've got changes, you've got things happening that you cannot see, okay? But it doesn't mean they're not happening. And then what happens, yeah, is after 5 years with bamboo, it can then sometimes come up and grow a metre a day, okay? A metre a day. The funny thing is this. My seed was planted in 2001. That was when my seed and idea for change and when I was able to see what life could be like. My shift was in 2006. 2006. And let me tell you this, I drove people nuts, didn't I, Joe? Didn't I, Hillary? Okay. But what it was there was a constant belief of different individuals, yeah, that continued to support and give me encouragement, advice, intervention that helped support that journey of when it was then time for me to then go off and live my life. And the reason why I put this next slide on here, and there are many of these people in this room today as well, yeah, is because this is a collective way of working. We do this all together, yeah? So on here, I've got John McCrae that's back there. I've got Uncle Stu there. I've got Joe on there. There's Joe. There's loads of you on there, yeah? Okay. If you're not on there, it's only because the slide wasn't big enough, yeah? Okay, and it'd all be kind of really tiny, yeah? But it's really emotional kind of doing this talk today because it is literally like I'm talking to my life. My life is sat before me, yeah? And I'm only here because of all of you people, yeah? But all of these people on this picture here, all, yeah, look, the Norries are here. Where is she? Where is she? The two Norries. Oh, run away. Run away. Look, see, gone. See, look, left the building. Must have gone with Chris. Anyway. So all of these people here do amazing work. They do amazing work in different areas, but with actually the same principle of why it is that they want to be able to do it. And now what I want to show you is what can happen from it. Yeah. So when I turned my life around in 2006, I had the best CV you could ever see. Yeah. And this CV was that I had 56 offences, 18 convictions, 8 years behind the prison wall. I did have a level 1's maths qualification. Yeah. It weren't a great looking CV. People weren't queuing up to give me a job, let me tell you that. But what happened, yeah, was over a 7-year period, I went from 2 hours a week volunteering to 7 years later being a service manager within Portsmouth City Council and Public Health, overseeing a staff team of 40 to reduce health inequalities to the most deprived area of Portsmouth. And I was also holding a £1 million a year budget, yeah. And the reason why I was able to do that was because of all of the different individuals that helped and supported me on that journey of change. On that journey of change. So it's everybody within the room that was able to do that. As you all know as well, in 2016, I then came up with the idea of unlocking potential. And then what I did was I set off on another journey. And over that time since 2016, you know, I've worked in over 50 prisons in England. I've worked in prisons in Scotland. I've worked in prisons in America and in Australia. And I've been able to do lots and lots of amazing things. But the only reason I'm able to do all of that is because people believed in me. People believed in me. Okay? We are all one person's belief away from success. But for me, this is the real success. And this is my life today. And this is my life today, and it's got some amazing people on there. It's got my family on there. You've got my mum over there on the corner there. Do you know what I mean? You've got my boy there. Okay. Oh, sorry, I have got like Jeremy Corbyn there as well. I don't know why he clicks in there. He's a proper old Pompey geezer, this one over here. Yeah, we see that. But I have such a full life. I am so blessed with the life that I have. For somebody that could not maintain any type of relationship, my life is completely different today. And the reason why it's different today is because you hold me. Every single person in this room holds me. This is the reason why I wanted you to all be with me here today. But there's also somebody else that needs to be on here as well, because this is usually when I become to the end of this part of the talk. And I usually open it up for Q&A. And the Q&A that always comes up is this. It says, so what happened to your brother? Did you ever see him again? So this is my brother Dave. Sadly, my brother Dave can't be here today, but his son is still, was it? My niece and my nephew. But I just want to kind of explain a little bit about Dave. So I lost Dave 3 times. I lost Dave when I went into the care system. I then lost Dave because of my drug and alcohol addiction and prison situation. But then sadly, I also then lost my brother to cancer. But I always say, my brother is the gift that just keeps on giving. He's the gift that keeps on giving. So what happened was when I made the decision that I was going to change, I got in touch with my brother, and Bob and my brother came to visit me in Ford Prison. Do you remember that, Bob? Okay. So Bob and my brother came to visit me in Ford Prison. And then what happened was my brother then became my role model, because my brother showed me what it meant to be a real man. He showed me what it actually meant to step up and do what needed to be done. And I learned so much from Dave. And then what happened, the reason why I call Dave the gift that keeps on giving, is because when I kind of got towards the last of Dave's days in the hospice, I remember being in the hospice and saying to Dave, is there anything that I can do for you? And he said to me these words. He said, Gethin, just be there for my children. Just be there for my children. And I said to him, I promise. And all I know today is a promise is only a promise once it's met. So it's something I continue to do, and I hope I am doing it. So, and what also Dave did on that day as well was he showed me just how much I'd changed. Because as I said, I was a complete liability, and I let everybody and everything down within my life. But on that day, he showed me how much I changed because he entrusted your care to me. And that's why my brother is just the gift that keeps on giving. But also as well, not just my brother, but also Mike, and also the many other people that I've lost in one way or another that had really, really difficult lives. And every single thing that I do is linked to those people. So even though they may not be here, they are here. And they are the ones that also give me the strength, the courage, the resilience, and the ability to keep on doing what it is that I do. So, on this section, I just want to say thank you for listening to my last ever Seeds of Belief in a UK prison. Wow. Wow. Woo. Thank you. Wow.
Good man, Kev. Good man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's not over yet, because I need to. That's the ending. But with every ending, there has to be a beginning, yeah? A new beginning. We know that's being Porter fans, don't we, Bruce? Okay, so it is. What is next? So what is next? So what I've always realised is I don't have all of the answers. I only have part of the answer. Okay, also as well, my lived experience is not a trump card. Yeah, my lived experience does not mean that I know better than anybody else. What I believe is what we need to be able to have is a selection and collection of people that can actually maybe work collaboratively together to help create the solutions that are needed today. So what it is if you look at unlocking potential, when we first started, my logo used to say, Gethin Jones, unlocking potential. My new logo just says, unlocking potential, because Gethin has left the building. Okay, and the reason why I've left the building is because what I am now creating is the Unlocking Potential Associates model. And the Associates model, and I will tell you a little bit more in detail, but just give it a bit of an overview of it, is going to have a 360 view of the justice system, a 360 view. So I created a program a few years ago which was called Two Sides of the Same Door. And what that was professionals and people with lived experience working together to deliver support and change to people within secure environments. So what I've done is I've taken that one step further. So I've created a group of associates, that are going to now help and support. So what I've been doing is I've been doing a bit of poaching, legal poaching, I'd like to say. So what that means is when people have been leaving HMPPS, I think, let's see a chat with that one. So what it is within the associates model, and this may not mean to everybody, but it will mean to some. So I've got different grades. So I've got people that were prison group directors. That means they oversaw clusters of prisons. I've got prison governors. I've got deputy governors. I've also got heads of readuse into reoffending. I've got people that have worked in policy and process. Okay, and all of these people as well, they've also worked through the system, so they've gone from operational all the way up to senior leadership. I've got people worked in that area that worked within the youth estate. I've also got people within there as well that helps create the first secure school within the country as well. Okay, so we've got a wealth of information and knowledge there. We've also as well got people that have supported and helped create big contracts to go into the justice system, very much linked to technology, so they understand the bureaucratic process, the system, and how it is that you can get these initiatives within the system. And I've also got what I call a rebel idea. I am going to introduce him. I've got Matt here. Matt's a rebel idea. Yeah, rebel idea. There's a really good book called Rebel Idea by Matt Said. And what they say there is that you need to sometimes maybe have somebody that's got no idea about where you work or what you do. So Matt is first time in prison today, Matt, is it?
It's my first time in prison.
Hey! Give him a round of applause. Okay. But Matt knows very much about change management in very kind of big organisation. He's also got an engineering background as well, so that's kind of a different area there. We've also got experts in relation to trauma-informed practices, ACEs, emotional freedom techniques, and lots of other areas as well that we've got within it. On the other side of that as well, we've got lived experience within that team. So I've got successful lifers, long-termers and IPPs, gang members, first-timers and females as well. Okay, but we've also as well got a mum. Yeah, we've got a mum of a son that's actually doing a very lengthy life sentence. And she also brings another element in relation to how a parent can still be a parent while somebody's serving a long time within custody. So what it is we've got all of those amazing people in one room. Yeah, how cool does that sound? Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay, we like that. So what it is, there's some people today that also wanted to see this gentleman. So people who are within the justice system know of a gentleman called Shad Maruna. Okay, Shad Maruna is what they call a criminologist. Yeah. What I've just talked about a moment ago in relation to my own life is what we call the desistance model. Yeah. So and what it is literally he wrote the book on it. Yeah. He wrote the book on it. But I'm pleased to say as well, even though I sometimes resist academics, don't I, Sharon? Yeah, I do, don't I? Okay, but he has kind of changed a lot of my views, and he's also come on as the academic within Unlocking Potential. So I'm just going to share this little picture here, and then I'm also going to share about the next bit as well. So this is the image that we use for Unlocking Potential, and the reason why we use this image is because Unlocking Potential has created a trusted brand across the Ministry of Justice. Yeah, that's why we're just going into a partnership with Mighty that are at the back there. Hello, Lisette. Nice to see you. Yes, we're going into a 10-year relationship with Mighty in relation to the new HMP mill site. We also do work closely with MOJ, HMPPS and other areas too. So what we want to be doing is an umbrella company, where actually we are the trusted brand that can then parachute in the other individuals that we know that can do amazing works, whether that is consultants, trainers, speakers, or interventions as well. And these are the light bulb parachutes that are coming down there as well. And I just think it symbolises what it kind of is. But also the really good thing about this, is I was able to use AI to create this, all right? And it literally took me no more than 35 minutes, and it only cost my $20 a month subscription, So that was a win right there. See, Cam, mate, I'll tell, sorry, mate. Shut up now. Right, anyway, so you're now probably thinking, so what are you now going to do then, Geff? Go and lie on one of them beaches you're always sharing on your social media? You're going to go off and retire? Well, for me, retirement is not an option, I'm never going to retire because this is my life. This is my life and it is my purpose and it is what I will always be doing. So what it is now is I have a call to action. A call to action, because what I also need now is your help, your help. And the reason why today we've got sort of like the film crew here as well is because I've done a call to action recently and Bucks University heard that call to action and they've stepped up. So what it is, as many of you will probably know, the system at the moment is in despair. It's in a bit of despair in relation to the overcrowding crisis and everything like that. So I just want to be able to share about how I think all of us can help and change and shift it. So at the moment, we've got a really good prison minister, which you may know as James Timpson, So James Timpson is really showing how rehabilitation needs to be within prison. But he's got a hard task. And the reason why he's got a hard task is because of public perception. Public perception. And what I want to be able to help us all start to try to do now is about how we can start to shift public perception and how we can change public perception. Because by doing that, it will help and support people like James Timpson's to do what's needed. So I'm now just going to give you a few little facts that may be able to help and support yourselves as well. So what we say within the justice system is we lock people up to keep community safe. Lock people up to keep community safe. But if we do not give them the support and intervention they need whilst they're in prison, and then not embrace them when they come out of prison, we're actually making our communities more unsafe. Because when they leave prison, they're more likely to reoffend, which then means that we create more victims and communities become more unsafe. This is why our prison population is massively increasing. So what we need to be able to look at doing is how can we shift the public's perception for them to see the benefit of the justice system, and that it's not a political issue, it's a public and societal issue that we all need to be able to find a way to be able to help and support as well. People agree with that, Okay. All right, so what it is as you know, I've got a big mouth, okay? So I want to be able to use that big mouth. And part of what it is as well is at the moment, there are a lot of people and a lot of people in this room today, and what it is we talk a lot in echo chambers. We talk a lot in echo chambers. We go off to conferences and we're continuously speaking to the same people that think the same thing. And that's not going to help and support real change. To support real change, we need to step onto uncomfortable stages. We need to start to speak to people who are not liking what it is that we're saying. Because actually when they become uncomfortable, then they may actually start to challenge their beliefs, or we may have the opportunities to be able to do that. So what I'm saying as part of the call to action is that we need to maybe have you think about what other stages could we get on, or could we get people to go on? And I'm not just talking about me here, because there are other people that are on this journey too. So we've got Dr. Sarah Lewis over here in the corner that's doing Justice 2.0, which is also about another way of us being able to shift and change the perception of the public so we can have a new justice system. We've got another lady called Vicky Forbes as well that's also doing some great work as well. We've got Piers Sinha that's in the room from the Prison Reform Trust that wants to get involved with this as well. We've got representatives from the Howard League, which I've spoken to, that want to be able to do this too. And we're also going to be getting Clinks involved in this as well, yeah, because this is how we do it. And I'll tell you why I know this is how we do it. Okay, so Alan Noble back there, yeah, right. I used to work with Alan Noble with the alcohol interventions team. Remember that, Al, back in them days? Yeah. And I remember, I think you paid for me to go there. I went to a conference with Sue Atkins, yeah, and it was an alcohol conference, and it was about how do we change the public's, the UK's relationship with alcohol? How do we change it? And then what it was you had Alistair Campbell that was there, yeah, and Alistair Campbell was talking about his own personal relationship with alcohol. And then what it was is somebody asked the question, but how do we change the country's relationship with it? And he said, it's about a campaign and momentum. He said, I'll give you an example. He said, if I went back to Fleet Street 30 years ago and said, in 30 years' time, you won't be able to smoke in a pub, in the office, or on a train, they'd have gone, you're mad, that will never happen. But what it was there was such a campaign and momentum built, the smoking went from social to antisocial. And then legislation had no choice but to change, and politics fell into line. And what I believe is we need to be able to do exactly that same momentum and campaign within the justice system. So I created another image using AI. Okay? And I kind of created this image here like this. So what I believe and what we all maybe need to do together, and this is what I'm going to be pushing forward in the future as well, is we need to all become streams, individual streams that are using the same stories and narratives to shift public perception. Streams become rivers, and rivers have more power, more power and more influence. And as the more streams get into them rivers, the river then becomes the ocean. And the ocean is the momentum and change. And I believe that is the journey that I want to be going on now. But I don't want to just be doing this on my own. I need other people to be with me. And this is also part of the launch within the Unlocking Potential Associates model, because actually by having other people be able to do all of that other stuff, it means that I can get more involved in being able to do this sort of stuff so that we can really create a momentum of change. What I also know as well is it's not probably going to happen in my lifetime. Yeah? Okay? I'm also not that powerful. But what I would hope is that, again, we plant a seed. We plant a seed of change. And then maybe sometime in the future, there'll be a huge oak tree of change that either Henry, Tilly, Page, or even their grandchildren can sit under. That means we've got a justice system that's fit for purpose and fairest for all. And when I say that, I mean it's fit for purpose and fairest for all, and it supports those that work within it, live within it, and the communities it serves. But we need to be able to do all of that together. And the call to action is simply this. If you think in some small way you may be able to help and support this journey, please come and speak to me. And this is what the university did and why this video is being done today, because we are going to create a documentary to talk about this stuff. And what we want is we want more people to be able to get involved and see how we can do this. How do people feel about that? Yes? Yes? Because there is no cavalry coming over the hill. There's no cavalry. We are the cavalry, yeah? We are it. Well, anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the end of the beginning of something or other. But it's not over and out. We are going to do a few thank yous in a minute, okay? But today has been a very, very emotional and powerful day for me. And I'm really hoping that you're going to join me when I leave these prison gates today. To me, it's like I'm talking to my life. You are my life. You are my life. When I first came into this prison all them years ago, I came in here with fear. And the reason why I had that fear was because I was stepping into the unknown and I didn't know if I'd be able to survive. But what I did was I connected with my internal resilience, strength, and courage that enabled me to survive. 40 years to the day, I've walked back in here with the same fear. Because again, I'm walking into uncertainty. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive. But what I do know is I'm better this time. And the reason why I'm better is because I've still got that resilience, I've still got that strength, and I've still got that courage. But more importantly, I've got you. Thank you.